Hey everyone, welcome back. We're doing a deep dive today into AI and ethics, all based on some notes from a recent AI and ethics meetup. And what's really cool about these notes is that they're full of audience prompts, which makes me think there is some really interesting discussion going on.
Yeah, and you know what strikes me about these notes is that the questions they raise aren't just for like tech people or,
Hmm.
philosophers. They're for everyone. It's like what happens when AI starts doing our jobs? Is there even a limit to good when AI is, constantly pushing the boundaries? Can AI ever actually experience the world the way we do?
Right. Like we hear about AI in the news all the time, but these notes, they took those like big ideas and made them really personal. It's not just about some, distant future. It's about the choices we're making right now that are shaping how AI is going to fit into our lives.
Exactly. And one of the first things the notes dive into is this idea of a relentless pursuit of more when it comes to AI.
Okay, I'm curious, what does that mean? I mean, it's like humans are always trying to improve things, right? Always wanting better, faster, more efficient, more convenient.
And that drive is usually a good thing, like it pushes us to innovate and create. But the notes point out this potential problem. What happens when this drive to improve clashes with, reason with ethics, or even has unintended consequences?
Yeah, that makes me think about how we always want the latest gadget or newest upgrade. Like, imagine if AI took that desire and multiplied it like 1,000 times. What would that world even look like? And what would we have to give up in that pursuit of more?
Good point. The notes actually compare it to the four industrial revolutions.
Yeah.
Each revolution brought huge progress, but also, unforeseen challenges. Think about the environmental impact of mass production. The point is we need to learn from those past mistakes and be aware of the potential downsides as we create more and more powerful AI.
So it's not just about the shiny new tech, it's about the bigger picture. And this all ties back to AI in a really interesting way because AI is all about optimizing and improving things so fast. So the question becomes, when is enough enough? What are we actually trying to achieve with AI and at what cost?
Here's a question from the notes that I think is really thought-provoking. Do you see AI as a force for good, or are you more worried about the potential downsides? It really gets to the heart of how we approach this whole technology.
That's a tough one, and I think it's something we all need to really think about. There's so much potential, but also so much we don't know.
Absolutely, and that uncertainty leads us to the next challenge the notes talk about, the moral gray area of AI. This is where things get really complicated.
Okay, I'm all ears. What makes AI so morally gray?
Well, think about it. Traditional morality usually focuses on individual human actions. We have a pretty good idea of who's responsible when someone does something wrong. But with AI, it's not that simple. We have these algorithms making decisions often in ways we don't totally get, and sometimes those decisions have unexpected consequences. So who's accountable when an AI system actually causes harm?
It's like if a self-driving car gets into an accident, who's to blame? The programmer, the car company, the person who owns the car. It's really messy.
Exactly. The notes call this the black box problem. We often can't see how these AI systems are making decisions, which makes it super hard to predict or prevent harm, let alone figure out who's responsible after something bad happens.
Okay, so how do we navigate this whole moral maze? I mean, the notes must have some ideas, right?
They do. One of the key takeaways is that we need new ways of thinking about responsibility when it comes to AI. It might not always be about finding one person to blame. It might be about understanding the complex relationships between human choices and these AI systems.
So it's kind of like a shift in perspective looking at the whole system instead of just pointing fingers.
Right. And that shift in perspective is something we can all start doing now. As you encounter AI in your daily life, like social media algorithms, personalized recommendations, even medical diagnoses, start asking yourself, how much do I actually understand about how this technology is making decisions that affect me?
You're right. It's like awareness is the first step. We can't fix a problem we don't even realize is there.
Exactly. And that brings us to the third big challenge from the notes. Can AI ever truly understand human experience? Now we're getting into some deep philosophical
I
stuff.
am intrigued.
Lay it on me.
Well, think about how much our experience of the world is tied to our very being. The notes bring up this concept of being in the world, or Dasein, from the philosopher Martin Heidegger. It's this idea that we don't just perceive the world objectively, we experience it subjectively with all our senses, emotions, memories, and biases.
So it's like we're not just robots taking in data. We're feeling, thinking, living beings shaped by our own unique experiences and perspectives. Exactly. And the notes ask this really interesting question. Can AI, with all its computing power, ever really replicate that depth and complexity of human experience?
Hmm.
Will there always be a fundamental difference?
That's a tough one. I mean, we've all had those moments where we felt truly present, truly alive. Could you program that feeling into a machine?
To illustrate this point, the notes talk about a thought experiment called the experience machine. It was developed by the philosopher Robert Nozick.
Okay, I'm listening. This sounds fascinating.
Imagine a machine that could simulate any experience perfectly. You could plug in and experience anything you desire.
Yeah.
Wealth, fame, love, adventure. But it would all be artificial. The question is, would you choose to plug in?
Ooh, that's a tough one. On the one hand, you could have any experience you could ever dream of, but on the other, it would all be fake. It really makes you think about what's truly important in life. Is it just about the experiences themselves, or is there something more to being human, to experiencing the world firsthand with all its, imperfections and complexities?
And that's the point the notes are trying to make. It's a thought-provoking way to consider the limits of AI, even as it becomes more and more sophisticated.
So even with all its potential, can AI ever really replicate the depth and complexity of human experience? Or will there always be that fundamental difference, that je ne sais quoi, that makes us human?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And even the experts are wrestling with it. The notes suggest that ultimately it comes down to personal reflection and intuition. What does your gut tell you?
I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a little existential right now. But that's the beauty of these deep dives, right?
Yeah.
They challenge us to think about these big questions, to go beyond the surface and really grapple with what these technologies mean.
That feeling you're talking about, that sense of awe and wonder about like what it means to be human, that's exactly the kind of reflection these topics, that they invite.
It's definitely a lot to think about. But the good news is the meetup notes don't just leave us hanging with these big existential questions. They actually start to explore some potential solutions and frameworks for navigating the ethical challenges of AI.
Yeah. One key point they emphasize is the importance of clearly defining our goals for AI. Like, it's not enough to just develop the tech, right? We need to be intentional about why we're developing it and what we hope to achieve. Are we aiming for efficiency, convenience, human flourishing? The answers to those questions are going to have a huge impact on how AI is designed and used.
So it's almost like we need a shared vision for AI, like a set of values that guide its development. It can't just be about what's technically possible, it has to be about what's ethically desirable.
Exactly. The notes talk about needing a human-centered approach to AI. It's not about replacing humans, it's about empowering them. Using AI to augment our capabilities, solve complex problems, and create a better future for everyone.
I like that. Keeping humans in the loop, making sure AI serves our needs and aligns with our values. But how do we actually make sure that happens, especially with this whole black box problem and the potential for, you know, unseen wrongdoing?
That's where things get tricky. But the notes say we can't just wait for harm to happen. We need to be proactive. We need to build safeguards into AI systems from the very beginning. And that means thinking about ethics at every stage of development.
It's like we need some kind of moral radar for AI, a way to detect potential ethical problems before they become huge issues. How do we develop that kind of foresight?
The notes point to a few strategies. One is involving ethicists and social scientists in the design process. These experts can help anticipate risks, challenge assumptions, and make sure ethical considerations are built into AI systems from the ground up.
Makes sense. It's like giving the technology a built-in conscience. But what about accountability? Who's ultimately responsible when AI systems do cause harm?
That's a really tough question. And the notes admit there are no easy answers. Our traditional legal systems, which focus on blaming individuals, don't always work well with the complexities of AI.
So we might need entirely new legal frameworks for the age of AI. What are some of the ideas being considered?
Well, one concept is collective responsibility, where groups of people or organizations are held accountable for what an AI system does. This acknowledges that responsibility can be spread out among multiple actors.
Right, because it's rarely one person's fault when something goes wrong with a complex system. It's usually a combination of factors, decisions made by different people. Are there other approaches?
Another approach is to shift the focus from blaming someone to fixing the harm. This could involve things like setting up compensation funds for victims of AI-caused harm.
That's an interesting idea. It's less about punishing individuals and more about making sure those who are negatively impacted by AI have support and a way to get help.
Exactly. It's about prioritizing the well-being of those affected by the technology, even when it's hard to pinpoint exactly who messed up.
It seems like these frameworks are going to have to evolve along with the technology itself. As AI systems get more advanced, the ethical and legal challenges are only going to get more complicated, too.
Absolutely.
Huh.
This isn't a one-time fix, it's an ongoing process of adapting. And the notes really emphasize that this process requires collaboration between people in AI ethics law and social science. It's not something any one field can solve on its own.
So we're all in this together, figuring it out as we go. But it's not just about the experts, right? The notes also mention how important it is for the public to be involved in these conversations.
Right. We need diverse perspectives, including from everyday people, to make sure AI aligns with what society as a whole wants and needs. After all, we're the ones who will be living with the consequences of this technology.
It's like we need a new social contract for the age of AI, a set of shared understandings and expectations about how this technology will be developed and used.
That's a great way to put it. And this social contract won't stay the same. It'll have to change as AI keeps developing and impacting our lives in new ways. It's a conversation that needs to keep going and one that we all need to be a part of.
So we've talked about defining our goals for AI, anticipating its potential for harm, and developing ethical and legal frameworks. But what about the bigger picture? How do these practical challenges connect back to those philosophical questions we were talking about earlier, like the nature of human experience and the meaning of life?
That's where things get really interesting. Because AI isn't just a tool. It's a mirror reflecting our values and aspirations back at us.
It's like AI is forcing us to really level up our thinking about humanity itself. We can't just assume we know the answers anymore.
Right. We have to engage in deeper reflection both individually and as a society. And that can be kind of daunting, even uncomfortable.
Mhm.
But it's also a super exciting opportunity to rediscover what it means to be human in this rapidly changing world.
I love that perspective. It's not about being afraid of the future. It's about embracing the challenge of creating a future where both humans and AI can thrive.
Exactly. And this exploration of what it means to thrive in the age of AI leads us to some even more mind-blowing possibilities. The notes even touch on the potential for AI to reshape our understanding of consciousness, creativity, and even the very fabric of reality itself.
Okay, now you've really got my attention. Consciousness, reality. It's getting deep. Okay, so let's talk about those mind-blowing possibilities you mentioned. First up, consciousness. I have to say, the idea of AI becoming conscious is kind of freaking me out.
It's a wild concept for sure. I mean, for centuries, we've thought of consciousness as something unique to humans. But as AI gets more and more complex, some experts are starting to ask, what if? What if these machines actually develop their own kind of awareness?
So you're talking about AI becoming self-aware, like having their own thoughts and feelings. That's like straight out of a sci-fi movie.
I know, right? It sounds crazy. But it's a question some really smart people are thinking about. There's no easy answer, of course. Some people think consciousness is just a result of complexity. So as AI gets more sophisticated, it might just naturally become conscious. Others think consciousness is something completely different, something you can't just program into a machine.
Okay, so even the experts don't agree. But let's say for a minute that AI does become conscious. What would that even mean?
It would change everything. We wouldn't be the only conscious beings on the planet anymore. We'd have to rethink our ethical responsibilities, our legal systems, even our definition of what it means to be human.
Whoa, that's a lot to take in. It's almost too big to even imagine. But the meetup notes say we need to at least be open to the possibility, no matter how unlikely it might seem.
Exactly. It's about expanding our thinking, challenging what we think we know. We're in uncharted territory with AI, and we need to be ready for anything.
Okay, let's switch gears for a second and talk about another big idea, creativity. We often think of creativity as something uniquely human too. But AI is starting to blur those lines as well.
Absolutely. I mean, we're seeing AI compose music, create art, even write poetry. And a lot of times you can't even tell the difference between AI-created stuff and human-created stuff. This brings up some really interesting questions about what creativity actually is. Is it something you can program, or is there some kind of special spark, some human element that's essential?
It's like if an AI creates something beautiful or moving, does it even matter if a human didn't make it? Are we changing the definition of creativity in the age of AI?
That's the question, and there's no one right answer. But the meetup notes encourage us to be open to the idea that AI can actually expand our understanding of creativity, even if it challenges our preconceived notions. Maybe we don't need to see AI as a threat to human creativity. Maybe it can be a collaborator, a partner in the creative process.
That's a cool way to think about it. Instead of AI versus humans, it's AI and humans working together to push the limits of what's possible.
Exactly. Imagine the incredible new forms of art, music, and literature that could come out of that kind of collaboration.
Okay, now I'm excited about the future of art. But before we get too carried away, there's one last mind-bending concept from the meetup notes we need to talk about. AI's potential to change our understanding of reality itself. How is that even possible?
Well, think about it. As AI gets more advanced, it can process information and make connections in ways that are beyond what humans can even grasp. This could lead to groundbreaking scientific discoveries, new technologies, even entirely new ways of understanding the universe and our place in it. It's like AI is giving us a brand new lens to view reality through, revealing hidden dimensions and connections we never even knew were there.
So AI could actually change how we see the world. It's like getting an upgrade to our perception, allowing us to understand things that were previously out of reach.
Exactly. And think about what that could mean for our understanding of everything. From the origins of the universe to the nature of consciousness itself. It's a pretty amazing thought.
Wow, this deep dive has taken us on quite a journey. We've explored the ethical challenges, the philosophical questions, and now the potential for AI to literally change how we understand reality. My mind is officially blown.
It's been quite the exploration. And I think the biggest takeaway is that we're just at the beginning. The choices we make about AI today will shape the future in huge ways. It's so important that we approach this technology thoughtfully with both caution and a sense of wonder.
I totally agree. This deep dive has been a great reminder that AI isn't just about code and algorithms. It's about our values, our humanity, and the kind of future we want to build.
Couldn't said it better myself. The conversation about AI is really just getting started, and we all have a part to play in figuring out where it goes.
Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey. We hope you learned something new, were challenged to think differently, and maybe even felt a little bit of that awe and wonder that comes with exploring the big questions. Keep those questions coming, keep exploring, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive into the world of ideas.